So today we are talking about leadership succession in churches. Does it has to be by inheritance, or there are some ways we can have leadership succession in church? We can discuss about that. The case for leadership inheritance, having a look of what does that, what was happening in the Bible, in biblical perspective. How did leadership succession happen? Checking on patterns in the scripture and what is happening now and what our communities approve most. So, for example, priesthood succession was done in the Bible. How it is done in its public general point of view, how it is supposed to happen. For example, let's take a look at biblical precedent. At some point in the dynasty, in the scriptures, like for example, priesthood, we have the lineage of Aaron, the line of Aaron and the priesthood, the line of David and the throne. So, this is evidence that God sometimes works through uh, family succession. Succession is by inheritance. We take a look at the family of Aaron, everyone was a priest. From the family of David, succession was followed by family. So, apart from biblical precedents, we also have continuity of vision when succession is inherited. For example, passing leadership from a son or daughter or relative can preserve the founding vision and values of the ministry. It also avoids abrupt shift that might destabilize the congregation. There is continuity of the same vision, right? There won't be a no shift and change of focus and change of vision. And also, apart from biblical precedents, continuity of vision, there is also trust and familiarity, right? For example, a family member often grows up immersed in the church culture, right? Making them well prepared to lead. Congregants may feel secure with someone they already know, right? So it's someone who already grew up in the same system, in the same culture, taking over. People can easily trust that person and they are already familiar with that person. So they will be swift, smooth transition. And also leadership building. Uh, it can symbolize faithfulness of God across generations, reinforcing the idea of spiritual heritage. Legacy will continue, but it won't be disrupted when one leader is now late or incapable of leading. There will be continuity. Let's take a look at another perspective. The first was uh, supporting the fact that leadership has to be inherited in church. Succession has to be inherited. Let's take a look on another aspect. Uh, that is against inheritance of leadership, where we take a look at merit versus bloodline. Right? Leadership in church is meant to be based on calling, gifting, and character, not family ties. That's a strong point. Where we are saying or taking a look at, is the person succeeding capable of leading, or is the person gifted enough to lead? Is the person called to lead? Not just looking at he is the son, he is the daughter of the leader, so he is capable of leading. No, we have to take a look at the calling. Is the person called to lead? Is the person gifted to lead? Is the person qualified enough? Does the person have the character of a leader? So, inheriting leadership risks sidelining more qualified candidates, right? More called, gifted, and qualified people will be sidelined if we are to follow leadership by family ties. So this risks nepotism. If leadership is by family, there is a high risk of nepotism where it can breed resentment. So it was how I was saying, if leadership is by family ties or is inherited, there is a high risk of nepotism where it can breed resentment among its members, right? It means that members feel succession was unfair or politically motivated. Nepotism undermines the credibility and spiritual authority, right? If succession was by family ties, people would doubt the credibility of the leader. They will resent that and they undermine spiritual authority. Havachateerera bhozi vakutaura kuti munhu angopiwa chigaro nekuti mune nyina mwana wemutungamiriri, then I would say haatorina kudana. So it creates a lot of problems. It's a major blow to the new leader. Another issue is there are some other biblical counter examples where while some roles were inherited, main leaders were chosen outside family lines. Let's take a look at Joshua, who took over from Moses. Moses had sons. Moses had brothers, but Joshua was chosen to take over to succeed Moses. And also, Paul mentored Timothy. I'm sure Paul had relatives. Paul had people who he could uh, inherit what he did, but the legacy continued with Timothy, with who he mentored. So it's not always about inheritance. People from outside can be chosen to succeed, right? For example, Elisha wasn't related to Elijah, so is Joshua not related to Moses, but they succeeded. And David wasn't related to Saul, he succeeded. So it's not always about inheritance. Sometimes outsiders can be chosen to succeed, right? By calling. So that's not always the case. There is a risk of potential stagnation. Right? A family successor may lack fresh vision, leading to decline, and churches thrive when leadership is spirit-filled, is spirit-led, not just lineage-based. So when the family or the inherited leader lacks fresh vision, there is high risk of stagnation. Things will get stuck. become stagnant, they'll start focusing on what uh, the former leader was doing. There won't be any new vision, right? So the leadership has to be spirit-led, not just lineage-based. You know, churches thrive most if everything is spiritual based. What am I saying? Let's have a constructive middle ground where we are not saying it has to be spiritual. Where we are saying it has to be inherited. Or where we are not saying it doesn't have to be inherited. What matters the most is discernment and calling. Even if a family member is considered, the church should test their calling, character, and competence. So, yes, we are saying it has to be nurtured, but the leader has, the church has to test the person if he is called enough, competent enough, yes, the character through prayer and community affirmation, right? We can also have shared leadership models instead of auto, automatic inheritance. We can come up with a leadership model that will clearly state succession, right? Church can adopt boards, councils, and eldership structures to ensure accountability, right? So there is also mentorship and preparation that can be done. A founder can mentor both family and non-family members and non-family leaders to ensure succession is about readiness, not entitlement. And most importantly, transparency. Clear succession policy prevents confusion and division, whether the successor is related or not. So concerning this issue of whether succession be inherited or is like calling or some other means, not family inherited. So concerning this issue, my challenge to you is should church succession preserve legacy through family inheritance or the spirit-led discernment that may bypass family ties? What's your take on this? What can you say? As for me, I would argue that inheritance symbolizes continuity. It must never override discernment calling. Yes, it preserves legacy. There is continuity, but never to override discernment of calling, because that's what matters in a church organization. So, what's your take? Should leaders or calling weigh heavier in succession? What should weigh heavier between leaders and calling when it comes to succession? Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But what's your take on that? Can be shared. Take.